guys, welcome you all to the Insights into Books podcast. Before we start, kindly follow or subscribe us. And if you want daily summary files of these books, then subscribe us on Gumroad. Links are in description. Now, let's start today's discussion, guys. Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep today into something really transformative. It's a whole framework for, well, fundamentally rethinking your entire professional life.
Yeah, moving way beyond just the standard 9-to-5 grind.
Exactly. And challenging that whole idea that you have to put off all the good stuff, travel, fun, fulfillment, until retirement, which, let's be honest, feels increasingly distant for many.
Or even unreachable, yeah. It's a flawed model for a lot of people.
So our mission today is really to dig into a philosophy that's built around maximizing your valuable output, the stuff that really matters, while at the same time ruthlessly minimizing the time you actually put in.
Finding that ultimate blueprint, you could say. Yeah. Efficiency leading to, well, genuine personal freedom.
Precisely. What we're dissecting here is this system called lifestyle design.
Well, lifestyle design, yeah. And it's really an intellectual, almost a strategic rejection of what the framework calls the deferred life plan.
That deferred life plan, that sounds familiar.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's that deep-seated idea, that society drills into us. You must accept long hours, intense work, maybe even stuff you hate.
For decades, right? Like 40 years.
Yeah, for 40 years. Just so you can earn the right to enjoy life later. But the irony is, by the time you get there, maybe you're physically less able to do all the things you dreamed of.
Or just burned out.
Just completely burned out, exactly. So the core principle we're pulling out here is the strategy for getting that freedom, that control, now.
Not just by saving a ton of money, though.
Not primarily, no. It's more about radical efficiency in how you organize things and setting up automated systems that kind of run themselves.
Okay, and central to this whole shift in thinking is this concept of the new rich, or NR.
The new rich.
It's not just a catchy phrase, is it? It sounds like it completely flips how you measure success, like turns the whole definition of wealth upside down.
It really does. For the new rich, success isn't about how much money you have piled up, that static number in your bank account or your stocks.
Right, the traditional measure.
Instead, they value two things above all else: time and mobility. Control over their time and the freedom to be where they want to be.
So control over your actual experience of life.
That's it exactly. They prioritize that control way more than just stacking up money for its own sake. Think about it. People chase huge salaries, right?
Sure, the corner office dream.
But often, they don't control their time at all. They end up trapped. They need more and more money just to pay for the expensive lifestyle, the big house, the fancy cars, the high taxes that came with that high salary in the first place. It's a cycle.
So it's not the number of zeros in the bank account that counts.
Not in itself, no.
But the freedom and the choices those zeros actually buy you.
Precisely. The whole focus shifts. It's about cash flow, yes, but critically, it's about flexibility.
Flexibility, okay.
And the idea here is that the practical value of money, the value you actually live, gets multiplied exponentially based on whether you control the 4 Ws.
4 Ws. Okay, what are those?
It's what you do, the tasks, the projects you choose, when you do them, your schedule, where you do them, your location, and, just as vital, whom you do them with, the people you collaborate with or spend time around.
What, when, where, whom? Control over those 4.
Having control over those 4 variables, that's the ultimate measure of wealth and power in this philosophy. Much more than just a big salary.
This really crystallizes when you contrast absolute income versus relative income. This seems like the fundamental mind shift you need to make.
It absolutely is. It's foundational.
Can you give us that classic example, the one that shows why just looking at the salary number alone is, well, kind of meaningless without factoring in the time?
Sure. Absolute income is what most people chase, what they obsess over. It's the raw number. Let's say $500,000 a year for a high-powered investment banker. Sounds
Here's the surface, yeah. Very successful.
But relative income, that's totally different. It measures the money plus the time, or maybe more accurately, the control over your time and schedule that comes with the money. You often see it calculated as earnings per hour, but it's broader than just that.
Okay, so it reframes the whole definition of rich.
Completely. So let's take 2 people using the new rich definition. Person A is that banker, pulling in $500, but working, say, 80 grueling hours every week.
Okay, high income, 0 time.
Right. Now, person B, through applying these principles, ruthless efficiency, automation works only 10 hours a week. And maybe they only earn $40,000 a year.
Much lower absolute income.
Much lower. But who has more power, more mobility, more effective wealth according to this framework? It's person B, the one earning 40K.
Even though they make so much less, how does that work?
Well, let's break down the hourly rate for a second. The banker at $500 for 80 hours a week, that's roughly $120 per hour. Not bad. The $40K person at 10 hours a week is about $77 per hour. Lower, yes.
Still lower per hour, too.
But look at the lifestyle cost. The banker surrenders 70 extra hours of their life every single week to get that higher number. The new rich person controls those 70 hours.
70 hours, that's huge. That's like 2 extra full-time jobs worth of time.
Exactly. Time they can use for mini retirements, for learning new skills, traveling, pursuing things that actually excite them. They own their life, not just their income.
Okay, that's the compelling theory. But we have to tackle the skepticism, right?
Yeah.
Especially around the name, the framework's famous title. It kind of suggests you could just flick a switch and start working a few hours a week, money rolling in.
Right, the 4-hour part. That's a huge point of confusion and honestly a criticism sometimes.
And that expectation probably leads a lot of people to give up when it doesn't happen instantly.
Absolutely. And it's a critical point the framework itself actually emphasizes, if you dig into it. The idea of minimizing work hours, especially down to something like 4, should be seen mostly as a metaphor.
A metaphor for what?
For extreme efficiency, for radical freedom. It's the end goal, the ideal state, not a promise of effortless cash from day one.
So it's not about being lazy or finding some magic loophole.
Not at all. In fact, people who've actually done this successfully, they're usually the first to tell you the initial setup phase. Wow, requires incredibly focused, intense work, often frustrating work.
So you have to put in serious effort first to achieve effortlessness later. Kind of ironic.
Precisely. It's front-loading the work. You're building a machine, an automated system, and engineering anything complex takes time, focus, debugging.
Building the engine before you can coast.
Exactly. The journey to get that muse, that automated income stream, up and running, it's often described by people who've done it as like 1,000 messy days.
1,000 messy days. That sounds long and messy.
It often is. Days of struggle, trial and error, experimentation, maybe financial stress and uncertainty. You're figuring things out, building something new. The goal isn't laziness, it's surgical effectiveness. You're working hard now so that eventually the time you put in is disconnected from the money that comes out.
Okay, that makes more sense. It's an investment of intense effort for future freedom.
That's a great way to put it.
And that intense setup phase, those messy days, they lead us right into the actual blueprint. The structured 4-step process that holds this whole philosophy together, the DEAL framework.
DEAL. Yes, that's the roadmap.
Let's start at the beginning then. D is for definition. This is where it all kicks off, right? Redefining the rules, questioning everything we assume about work and life.
This first step, definition, it's like an intellectual detox program. You have to actively dismantle decades of social conditioning. All those messages we get about what success is supposed to look like.
Like the retirement dream.
That's a prime example. The unquestioned assumption that working until 65 and then retiring is the ultimate goal. This framework challenges that head on. It asks, why wait?
How does it view traditional retirement then?
It kind of frames it as just insurance. Insurance against the worst case scenario, basically, becoming too old or sick to work. And it argues that the whole concept is rooted in the assumption that you must hate what you're doing now. If you loved your work, why would you desperately count down the days until you could stop?
That's a provocative thought. Retirement is an admission of present dissatisfaction.
Right. So definition starts by questioning those big assumptions. But then it gets really practical.
This is where it gets really interesting for me, because when you ask most people, what do you want? They give you these vague answers. I want to be happy. I want to be successful.
Exactly. Fluffy, unmeasurable stuff. And this framework says, forget happiness as a goal. It's too vague. Focus instead on what specifically excites you.
Excitement, not happiness. Why excitement?
Because excitement is practical. It's actionable. Happiness is a state. It comes and goes. Excitement is the fuel to get you out of bed in the morning. It makes you want to do things.
Okay, so find what genuinely gets you fired up.
Yes. And the key insight here is that the real enemy, the thing that kills dreams and keeps people stuck, it's not usually catastrophic failure. It's boredom.
Boredom. Really?
Think about it. If you're actively chasing goals that truly excite you, you're naturally motivated. You're engaged. You're far less likely to quit during those inevitable 1,000 messy days we talked about. Boredom leads to apathy. Apathy leads to inaction.
So excitement is the antidote to boredom and inaction.
Exactly. But to get there, To actually pursue those exciting things, you first have to deal with the biggest obstacle for almost everyone.
Which is?
Fear. Plain and simple. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of judgment. And that's where this incredibly powerful tool called fear setting comes in.
Fear setting. I've heard this mentioned. It draws on some pretty old ideas, right? Like the Stoics.
Absolutely. It owes a lot to ancient philosophers like Seneca, who talked about premeditatio malorum, basically, thinking about bad things happening in advance.
So dwelling on the negative, that sounds counterintuitive.
It does, but it's strategic. It's designed to overcome that paralysis we feel. Often we deal with fear through what the framework calls optimistic denial. We just pretend the risk isn't there. Or we minimize it in our heads without really analyzing it. Fear setting forces you to confront it directly.
How does it work? You mentioned it's systematic.
Yeah, it's a very specific step-by-step process designed to quantify the fear, define it, and kind of defang it. Take away its emotional power.
Okay, walk us through it. Step 1.
Step 1, define. Define the absolute rock-bottom worst-case scenario if you actually take the action you're afraid of. Let's say it's quitting your job to start that Muse business we'll talk about later.
Okay, quitting the safe job. Scary.
Very scary for most. So what's the precise, detailed consequence? Total financial ruin, having to declare bankruptcy, being publicly humiliated, moving back in with your parents. You write it all down in excruciating detail.
You really paint the nightmare scenario.
Yes. And then you rate the potential permanent impact of that nightmare scenario on a scale of 1 to 10. How truly life-altering would it be long-term? The act of just writing it down, making it concrete instead of this vague monster in your head, already starts to shrink it.
Okay, define the nightmare and rate its actual lasting damage. What's step 2?
Step 2, prevent repair. What specific, actionable steps could you take to prevent that absolute worst case from happening? Or if it did happen, what could you do to repair the damage?
So contingency planning.
Exactly. If the Muse fails and you lose your savings, what's the plan B? Could you get a temporary job bartending? Could you call specific contacts for freelance work? Could you cut expenses drastically for a while? You list out concrete repair actions.
And the point of that is?
The point is to realize that even the absolute worst outcome is almost certainly survivable and probably reversible. You create a mental safety net in advance. It proves to your anxious brain that failure isn't fatal. You could likely recover, maybe within 6 months, maybe 12. It shifts your focus from, what if I lose, to how would I recover if I did?
That makes sense. It lowers the stakes emotionally. Now, you mentioned a third part, the calculation that really gives people a kick.
Ah, yes. Step 3, the cost of inaction. This is often the real game changer, the part that flips the switch.
The cost of inaction, what does that mean?
It means you have to quantify as best you can what it's costing you emotionally, financially, physically, maybe even spiritually, to not take the action, to postpone it, to stay put.
So what's the price of staying in this safe but unfulfilling situation?
Exactly. You calculate this cost over different time horizons. What does it cost you over the next 1 year, over 5 years, over 10 years? What's the compounded effect of staying in that soul-crushing job, of not learning that language you dream of not taking that extended trip, of not starting that business?
You list out the missed opportunities, the regrets, the potential health impacts of stress.
All of it. And when people actually sit down and do this honest calculation, the result is almost always shocking. They find that the very real, tangible, and accumulating cost of simply waiting, of doing nothing, of maintaining the status quo, it massively outweighs the potential, often temporary, risk of taking action and failing.
So the fear of staying stuck becomes greater than the fear of trying and failing.
Precisely. The status quo, the safe path, is often the most dangerous path of all in the long run. Fear setting reviews that.
Okay, so we've used fear setting to neutralize that paralysis. Now we can actually define what we do want. This leads to the next tool, dreamlining.
Dreamlining. Yeah, this is advanced goal setting. It's about getting super specific and maybe even a bit unrealistic by conventional standards.
How does it work? You set goals for 6 and 12 months.
Yes, specific timelines.
Yeah.
And you list maybe up to 5 big things you want to be, do, and have within those timeframes.
Did you have?
But here's the crucial part. Building on that idea of excitement over vague happiness, dreamlining forces you to convert abstract being goals into concrete, actionable doing steps.
Can you give an example of that conversion?
Sure. Let's say one of your B goals is be fluent in Spanish. That's vague. How do you measure fluent?
Right, it's fuzzy.
Dreamlining makes you turn that into a doing goal, like hold a 30-minute unscripted conversation purely in Spanish with a native speaker by November 1st. Or another B goal, be a great cook.
Also vague.
Convert it to doing. Successfully plan, shop for, prepare, and host a 6-course Christmas dinner for 8 people entirely without help by December 25th. See, it forces specific, measurable actions with deadlines. It prevents wishful thinking.
It makes the dream tangible and trackable.
Exactly. And the financial side of dreamlining is also pretty revolutionary compared to traditional financial planning.
How so? Because it doesn't focus on net worth.
Right. Forget calculating the millions you supposedly need for retirement decades from now. That number is huge. It's intimidating. It feels disconnected from today. Dreamlining focuses purely on cash flow, specifically monthly cash flow.
Monthly cash flow.
Okay. It asks you to determine your target monthly income, or TMI. And this TMI isn't some abstract savings goal. It's the specific amount of money you need each month to fund, say, the 4 most important dreams on your be-to-have list right now.
So you cost out the dreams themselves.
Yes. Let's say your top 4 dreams for the next 6 months are: take a 1-month trip to Thailand, hire a weekly house cleaner, take 2 pottery classes a week, and subscribe to a specific online learning platform. You calculate the exact monthly cost of just those things.
Okay. So maybe the trip costs $2,000 spread over the month you're planning it. The cleaner is $300 a month. Pottery is $200. The subscription is $50. Your TMI is $2,550 for that period.
Exactly. By focusing on a concrete, near-term monthly cash flow number, which might only be a few $1,000s, not millions, the goal suddenly feels achievable. It's directly linked to your current efforts. You realize you don't need to be a millionaire next year to start living like one in the ways that matter most to you this year.
That's a powerful reframe, shifting from accumulating massive wealth later to generating sufficient cash flow now.
It makes the whole thing feel possible. It connects today's work with tomorrow's excitement.
Okay, that perfectly sets up the next phase. You've defined what you want, faced your fears, costed out your dreams. Now you need the time and resources to actually do it. This brings us to part 2. E is for elimination.
Elimination, yes. And this is probably the fastest way to immediately free up huge chunks of your time. It starts yielding results right away.
Where does elimination start? What's the core principle?
It hinges on a really critical, maybe even brutal truth. Effectiveness trumps efficiency, always.
Effectiveness over efficiency. What's the difference in this context?
Efficiency is about doing things quickly or doing things right. Effectiveness is about doing the right things in the first place. The framework argues that doing unimportant tasks really, really well doesn't make those tasks important.
So getting faster at doing stuff that doesn't matter is pointless.
Worse than pointless, it's a trap. It makes you feel productive while achieving nothing of real value towards your goals. The fundamental aim of elimination is to achieve more by doing dramatically less. And that requires ruthlessly cutting out the non-essential.
And the main tool for identifying what's essential and what's not. That's the 80-20 principle, right? Pareto's law.
Pareto's law is the absolute cornerstone of elimination. It's the strategic weapon. It observes this universal imbalance in almost everything. Roughly 80% of your desired results, your income, your productivity, your happiness, whatever you're measuring, tend to come from only about 20% of your inputs.
80% of outputs from 20% of inputs.
Exactly. It could be 20% of your clients generate 80% of your revenue, or 20% of your tasks produce 80% of your valuable work, or 20% of your marketing efforts drive 80% of your sales, or even 20% of your worries cause 80% of your stress.
It applies broadly then.
Incredibly broadly. So the goal of elimination is twofold. First, identify that vital high-impact 20%. Pinpoint exactly what activities, clients, or efforts are producing the lion's share of the results you want.
Okay, find the golden 20%.
And second, ruthlessly minimize, delegate, automate, or ideally completely eliminate the remaining 80% of activities. The stuff that consumes most of your time but yields very little real progress.
That sounds hard. Saying no to things, dropping tasks, maybe even firing clients.
It is hard. It requires discipline. The framework actually calls being busy, constantly engaged in that low-impact 80%, a form of intellectual laziness.
Laziness. Being busy feels like the opposite of lazy.
But think about it. It's lazy because it avoids the difficult work of thinking strategically, analyzing your activities, making hard choices, and being selective. It's easier to just keep doing everything, stay busy, and feel productive, even if you're just spinning your wheels on low-value stuff. Being selective is the path of the truly productive.
Can you give a concrete example? Maybe not just for entrepreneurs, but for someone in a regular job, say an office manager. How would they apply 80-20?
Okay, good question. An office manager, maybe they feel swamped, working 50, 60 hours a week. They need to analyze their inputs. Where does their time actually go? They might discover, for instance, that 80% of the interruptions and urgent fires they have to put out come from just two specific team members or one particularly demanding department. That's the 20%.
Okay.
Or they might find that 80% of the time they spend on paperwork is consumed by one specific, overly complex, maybe outdated, quarterly reporting process that few people actually read.
Right. That report nobody uses, but everyone insists on.
Exactly. The 80-20 analysis identifies these things. Now, the lazy response is to just try and handle those interruptions faster or get quicker at filling out that useless report.
The effective response.
The effective response, guided by elimination, is to tackle the source. Can you implement new systems or rules to manage the demands of those specific team members more effectively? Can you delegate certain tasks they bring? Can you push back? And for the report, can you argue for eliminating it entirely? Or simplifying it drastically, or automating parts of it? You attack the 80% of low-value inputs, you don't just get faster at dealing with them.
Focus on the cause, not just the symptom.
Precisely. Eliminate the task itself, if possible.
Okay, so 80-20 helps you figure out what to focus on. But then there's the win. How do you make sure those important 20% tasks actually get done efficiently? That's where Parkinson's law comes in, right?
Exactly. Parkinson's law is the other key principle in the elimination phase, working hand in hand with Pareto.
Remind us what Parkinson's law states.
It's the observation that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion.
Yes. Give a task 2 weeks, it takes 2 weeks. Give it 2 days.
It magically takes 2 days. The task itself doesn't necessarily change in complexity, but our perception of its importance and the amount of fiddling and perfecting we do swells to match the deadline. A longer deadline often invites procrastination, overthinking, and unnecessary complexity.
So if we combine these two laws, 80-20 tells you what small set of tasks are most important.
Right. Focus on the vital 20%.
And Parkinson's law tells you how to get them done without them ballooning into time monsters. The solution seems counterintuitive. Give those crucial tasks shorter deadlines.
Extremely short, clear deadlines. Yes, it seems stressful, but it's incredibly effective. If you know that report's real value comes from the executive summary and the key data analysis, the 20%, and you've identified that using Pareto, then instead of giving yourself a whole week to work on the report, you use Parkinson's law. You give yourself, say, one highly focused 90-minute block to nail that summary and analysis. That's it. The intense pressure of this short deadline forces you to concentrate only on the essentials. It eliminates procrastination and perfectionism on the less important parts.
Compress the work into intense bursts focused only on the high-impact elements.
Exactly. It increases focus, boosts output quality on what matters, and prevents important tasks from becoming these vague, looming things that drain your mental energy all week. Short deadlines are your friend for the vital few tasks.
Okay, 80-20 for focus, Parkinson's law for speed on the important stuff. What else needs eliminating? One huge time sink today is just information overload.
Oh, massively. And the framework tackles this head-on with a concept it calls the low-information diet, or cultivating selective ignorance.
Selective ignorance. That sounds deliberately uninformed.
It sounds provocative, yeah. But it's a form of strategic defense for your time and attention. The core idea is that most of the information we constantly consume, breaking news, endless social media scrolling, random web surfing, even reading tons of books just in case, is overwhelmingly A, time-consuming, B, irrelevant to our defined goals, remember definition, and C, totally unactionable.
Stuff you can't actually do anything about.
Exactly. It clutters your mind, drains your energy, often makes you anxious or reactive, and produces zero progress towards your dream line.
So what's the prescription? Go live under a rock.
Not quite. But it suggests a pretty radical initial step. Try a 1-week media fast.
A whole week? Of what?
No news websites or apps. No non-essential web browsing beyond what's needed for your core work. No television news. Maybe even limiting nonfiction reading unless it's directly related to an immediate important project you're working on right now.
Wow. That would feel strange for most people. What's the point of the fast?
To reset your habits and realize how much time you were spending on low-value input. And to train yourself to distinguish between just-in-case information stuff you consume, thinking you might need it someday, and just-in-time information.
Just-in-time info.
Information that is immediate, essential, and directly applicable to accomplishing one of your core 20% tasks today. You learn to actively pull the information you need when you need it, rather than passively letting torrents of irrelevant data wash over you all day.
So be proactive about information consumption, not reactive.
Precisely. Ask yourself before consuming something, is this information important for me to achieve my specific goals right now, and can I actually do anything with it? If the answer is no, ignore it. Be selectively ignorant.
That sounds like it requires serious discipline, especially with FOMO, the fear of missing out.
It does. FOMO is powerful. But the framework argues JOMO, the joy of missing out on irrelevant distractions, is far more valuable for achieving your real goals.
Okay, cutting out irrelevant information. What about interruptions from people? Email, meetings, colleagues dropping by, those kill productivity too.
They're absolute productivity killers. And often cognitive killers too. They shatter your focus. Elimination requires building strong boundaries here. Email is usually target number one.
What are the main tactics for taming the email beast?
They're simple in concept, but often painful for people to implement because of ingrained habits and expectations. First rule: never ever check email first thing in the morning or last thing at night.
Why not? Everyone does that.
Because it immediately puts you in a reactive mode. You start your day responding to other people's agendas, not focusing on your own important 20% tasks. Your peak energy hours get hijacked.
Okay, so protect the morning, then what?
Limit checking email to specific scheduled times, maybe just twice a day. For example, batch process all email at 11 a.m. and again at 4 p.m. That's it. Outside those times, your inbox is closed.
Twice a day, people would panic. Clients, colleagues, they expect instant responses.
And that's where the crucial third tactic comes in. Use an email auto-response, a polite but firm message that manages expectations.
What does the autoresponder say?
Something like, "Thank you for your email. To be more effective, I am checking and responding to emails only twice per day at your time 1, example 11 a.m. PST, and your time 2, example 4 p.m. PST. If your matter is urgent and requires a response before time, please contact me via phone at number or text."
Ah, so you train people, you reset their expectations about your availability.
Exactly. It deflects non-urgent stuff, empowers people to solve minor issues themselves if they can't wait, and provides an emergency channel if truly needed, which is rare. You take back control of your time instead of being Pavlov's dog responding to every email notification ding.
That constant switching between tasks, checking email, working on a project, answering a message, it feels inefficient. How bad is it really for our brains?
The research backs up the framework's warnings significantly. Task switching, or context switching, isn't just about the few seconds lost moving between windows. It significantly depletes your cognitive resources. Studies suggest it can reduce your immediate cognitive capacity by around 20%.
20%, just from switching tasks.
Yes, and maybe even more impactful. Other research indicates it can take up to 25 minutes for your brain to fully regain deep focus on a complex task after a significant interruption, like dealing with an unexpected email or call.
25 minutes to get back in the zone? That's huge if you're interrupted multiple times an hour.
It completely fragments your effective work time. That's why the practice of batching is so essential, not just for email, but for other similar tasks too.
Batching, meaning?
Clumping similar, often low value but necessary, activities together into dedicated blocks of time. Process all your emails in one go. Pay all your bills in one session. Make all your non-urgent phone calls back to back. Run all your errands together.
Why does batching help so much?
Because it minimizes that costly context switching. Your brain stays in email mode or phone call mode or bill-paying mode. You avoid the constant mental gear shifting and the associated attention residue where thoughts about the previous task linger and interfere with the new one. Your brain works much better as a monotasker on focused blocks.
Okay, batch the routine stuff. What about the other big time waster in many workplaces? Meetings. Especially pointless meetings.
Meetings. The bane of productivity. For people who can't just eliminate them entirely, the elimination principle demands you apply very strict rules to manage them.
Such as?
Rule 1. Always require a clear, defined agenda and a specific desired outcome before agreeing to any meeting. What is the purpose? What decision needs to be made? If the person requesting the meeting can't articulate that clearly, the meeting probably isn't necessary.
Push back if there's no agenda.
But Rule 2. If someone proposes a meeting, especially one that seems like it could be handled asynchronously, suggest they outline their questions or points in an email first. Often, forcing them to structure their thoughts resolves the issue without needing a synchronous call at all. It saves everyone time.
Use email as a filter for meetings. Good one.
Rule 3. If a meeting absolutely must happen, take control of the time. Insist on a defined end time. Aim for 30 minutes max, maybe even 15 or 20 for quick sync-ups. Parkinson's law applies to meetings too. They will expand to fill the hours scheduled unless you constrain them.
Keep them short and focused.
And finally, protect your physical workspace. Don't allow casual drop-ins without a clear stated purpose that you've agreed is worth the interruption. Train colleagues that your focused work time is valuable and requires an appointment or a very good reason to break into. You're not just making yourself more efficient, you're subtly retraining the entire work ecosystem around you.
Wow, okay. That's a comprehensive attack on wasted time. Define your goals with excitement, use 80-20 and Parkinson's, cut information noise, and fiercely guard against interruptions and pointless meetings through batching and strict rules.
That's the core of elimination. It's about subtraction. Clearing the deck so you have the bandwidth for what really matters.
And once you've eliminated everything you possibly can, you've freed up those hours, you've identified your vital 20%, then you focus on automating what's left. Is that right?
Exactly. That brings us perfectly to part 3. A is for automation. Creating the muse.
The muse. This is the income-generating engine, the thing that funds the lifestyle design.
Precisely. The muse is the heart of the financial side of the New Rich strategy. It's defined as a low-maintenance, ideally automated business that generates cash flow largely independent of your direct, hour-by-hour time input.
Low maintenance is key here.
Absolutely crucial. The target benchmark is a business that, once properly set up and systematized, requires less than 1 full day per week of your active management time, maybe even just a few hours.
Okay, so not trading one demanding job for another, even if it's your own business.
Definitely not. That defeats the whole purpose. And another key characteristic. The muse usually focuses on small, well-defined niche markets, not trying to build the next Amazon or Google.
Why niche markets?
Because it dramatically minimizes competition. It lowers the cost and complexity of marketing and customer acquisition. You can become a big fish in a small, specific pond relatively easily, rather than being lost in the ocean of a huge, broad market. It's easier to find and target your ideal customers.
Okay, find a niche. Now, what about the product itself? The framework is quite specific about what makes a good muse product.
It is. And the first rule, maybe the most important one, is choose your market first. Understand a specific group of people and their problems before you even think about designing a product for them.
Don't create a solution looking for a problem. Find the problem first.
Exactly. Identify a need within a niche you understand, then design the product. As for the product criteria itself.
Yes. What makes an ideal candidate?
Several things. It should ideally be high margin, meaning the selling price is significantly higher than the cost to produce or acquire it. Think 8x, 10x markup or more.
That's right, margins. Okay.
It needs to be scalable, meaning you can sell 100 of them or 10,000 of them without your personal effort increasing proportionally. This usually points towards digital products or products where fulfillment can be easily outsourced.
Scalable, high margin. What else?
Quick to get to market. Ideally, you should be able to go from concept to testable product in maybe 3 to 4 weeks, not months or years. This allows for rapid iteration and testing.
Fast turnaround. And the price point. You mentioned a specific sweet spot.
Yes, the recommendation is generally products priced between $50 and $200.
Why that specific range? Why not cheaper or more expensive?
Good question. Products under $50 often require huge sales volume to reach a meaningful income target, your TMI. High volume means lots of customer service headaches, shipping logistics, tiny margins it's hard to automate effectively.
Okay, so cheap isn't necessarily easy. What about expensive? Over $200.
Products over $200 often involve a much longer sales cycle. Customers need more convincing, maybe financing options, extensive pre-sales support, maybe even personal sales calls. This requires significant time investment from you, which again kills the automation goal.
So $50 to $200 is the impulse buy zone, but with enough margin.
Exactly. It's often a price point where customers can make a decision relatively quickly, maybe based on a good sales page, without needing to talk to someone. It's high enough that the profit per sale is substantial enough to cover advertising costs and leave a good margin, but not so high that it requires intensive selling effort.
What kinds of products fit this model well?
Information products are often highlighted as ideal. Things like specialized ebooks, online courses, paid newsletters, maybe software tools for a specific niche.
Why info products?
Because they typically have near zero marginal cost. It costs almost nothing to deliver one more copy. The margins can be enormous. They're quick to create compared to physical products. Fulfillment is fully automated digitally. And while people can copy ideas, it's harder to instantly replicate a well-crafted course or a unique information package.
Okay, info products are strong contenders. What about simplifying the product itself? I think there is a point about limiting options.
Yes, the art of undecision, as it's sometimes called. Minimize the number of choices you offer the customer. Too many options, different colors, sizes, packages, pricing tiers can lead to analysis paralysis and lower conversion rates.
Keep it simple. Make the buying decision easy.
Exactly. Often, one core offer, maybe with one optional upgrade or add-on, performs best. Simplify the path to purchase.
Now, a big warning in this approach is about not betting the farm up front, not investing heavily before you know if people actually want your product. This leads to the idea of microtesting.
Microtesting demand is absolutely crucial. It embodies the ready, fire, aim philosophy, or maybe fire, then aim. It's about validating the market before you invest significant time or money into building the full product or ordering inventory.
How do you actually microtest something that doesn't fully exist yet?
You use lean, inexpensive methods. You don't need a fancy website or a finished product. You create simple, cheap online advertisements, maybe using Google ads, Facebook ads, or posting in relevant niche forums.
Okay, run some ads. Where do they point?
They point to a very basic landing page, maybe just one page that clearly describes the problem your proposed product solves and outlines the benefits of your solution. It might have a strong headline, some bullet points, maybe a mock-up image of the product.
And the call to action, since there's no product to buy yet.
The call to action is usually something low commitment that measures interest. It could be enter your email to be notified when this becomes available, or click here to learn more, which might lead to a slightly more detailed page, or even a simple pre-order now button that doesn't actually process payment, but just records the click as a sign of strong intent.
So you're measuring clicks, email signups, maybe fake pre-orders as proxies for actual sales potential?
Exactly. You compare the cost of running those small ad campaigns to the level of interest you generate. Clicks, signups. Is there enough interest from the target niche? Are people clicking the buy button even before it's real? This data tells you whether the market actually wants your solution before you spend weeks building it or thousands ordering inventory.
Validate demand with minimal investment. Test the sales pitch before the product.
That's the essence of it. It prevents one of the most common failure modes, building something nobody wants, or over-ordering inventory for a product that needs tweaking based on initial feedback. Keep initial investment tiny until the market proves you right.
Okay, so you've defined, eliminated, you've maybe micro-tested and found a winning product idea for your muse. Now comes the automation part, in earnest, getting yourself out of the day-to-day operations. This is where outsourcing and delegation come in.
Yes, and this can feel daunting for people, especially perfectionists or control freaks. But it's non-negotiable if you want true time freedom.
What's the rule for deciding what to delegate?
There's a clear hierarchy. First, eliminate. Can the task be removed entirely? If not, second, automate. Can software or a system handle it without human intervention? Only if a task cannot be eliminated or automated should you then consider the third option, delegate.
Eliminate, automate, then delegate. Don't just outsource your inefficiencies.
Precisely. Clean up the process before you hand it off. But once you've done that, delegation, often using virtual assistants or VAs, becomes the linchpin for freeing up your time from the remaining repetitive, low-value, or simply time-consuming tasks.
Virtual assistants. People working remotely, often overseas.
Often, yes, leveraging geo-arbitrage for labor costs. But they can be anywhere, and VAs can handle an incredible range of tasks, both business and personal.
Like what? Give some examples.
We've seen case studies where VAs manage customer support, email inboxes, process orders and returns for e-commerce businesses, schedule appointments, do online research, filter emails, manage social media accounts, transcribe audio, create presentations, even handle basic bookkeeping or website updates. The list is almost endless for tasks that are definable and repeatable.
So pretty much anything that doesn't require your unique genius or strategic input.
That's a good way to think about it. If a task takes up your time but doesn't leverage your core skills, and it can be clearly documented, it's likely a candidate for delegation.
But the big challenge here, the thing people worry about, is losing control or the VA constantly needing help or approval. It ends up taking more time to manage them than to do the task yourself.
That's a common failure mode, absolutely. Empowerment failure. And it stems from not setting things up correctly from the start. The single most critical tip for successfully using VAs and truly automating their function is this. Define clear, comprehensive rules and processes before you even hire them.
Document everything first. Standard operating procedures, SOPs.
Yes. Create detailed SOPs for every task you intend to delegate. But crucially, build rules into those processes that empower the assistant to make decisions and solve problems without constantly interrupting you for approval.
Can you give an example of an empowering rule?
A classic one is the financial limit rule for customer service. You might empower your VA to fix any customer problem, issue a refund, send a replacement product, offer a discount up to a certain predefined cost limit, say $50 or $100, without needing to ask you first.
So they can solve 90% of the problems instantly on their own.
Exactly. They only need to escalate to you if the potential cost exceeds that $100 threshold. This simple rule handles the vast majority of issues autonomously, saving you countless interruptions.
Yeah.
You have to design the system, the rules, the processes, so that the business can run smoothly without your constant micromanagement.
Build the system, then plug people into the system, not the other way around.
That's the key to scalable automation with delegation.
And you mentioned a practical security tip when working with remote assistants, especially involving payments.
Yes. A very simple but important one. Whenever possible, use credit cards, not debit cards, for any online transactions or payment systems that your remote assistants might need access to, like paying for shipping, software subscriptions, etc.
Why credit cards specifically?
Because credit cards offer much stronger fraud protection and an easier chargeback process. If there's an unauthorized charge or a mistake, getting the money back from a credit card company is usually straightforward. Recovering funds directly debited from your bank account can be much harder and take longer. It's just a smart layer of financial security when building your automated engine.
Good practical tip. Okay, so we've moved through definition, elimination, and now automation via the Muse and delegation. This brings us to the final stage, the payoff. Part 4, L, is for liberation.
Liberation, yes.
Yeah.
Escaping the office, escaping the constraints, and actually living the life you designed back in the definition stage.
This is where all that efficiency and automation finally translate into that time and mobility the new rich values so highly.
Exactly. This is the realization of the whole goal. True freedom, true liberation isn't just about having money in the bank. It's the ability to choose how, where, and when you live your life.
Now, for many people listening, they might be employees, not entrepreneurs building a Muse. How does liberation apply to them? Can they achieve this freedom?
Absolutely. The framework provides a very specific, tactical pathway for employees to negotiate location independence, the ability to work remotely. It's often framed as the disappearing act. And frankly, this is dramatically easier to achieve today, post-pandemic, than it was when these ideas first came out.
Okay, so for someone stuck in a traditional office job right now, maybe their company culture is resistant to remote work. What's the strategy? How do they negotiate this?
Crucially, the approach should not be about begging for a personal favor or emphasizing personal convenience. That rarely works with resistant management. The strategy must be framed entirely around business benefit. You have to prove that you are quantifiably more productive and valuable to the company when working remotely.
Prove increased output. How do you do that?
It often involves a strategic, perhaps slightly subversive, trial run. For example, maybe you have a legitimate reason to work from home for a day or two, a minor illness waiting for a repair person. Use that day to be hyper-productive.
Go above and beyond while remote.
Yes. Finish that report ahead of schedule, write more code than usual, close more sales, whatever your key metrics are. Document this increased output. Then, prepare a concise, quantified business benefit proposal.
What goes in that proposal?
Bullet points showing exactly how much more you accomplished working remotely compared to an average office day. Highlight the metrics. Completed X reports versus Y average. Resolved Z customer issues versus W average. Saved X hours commuting time. Reinvested into Project Y. Frame it purely in terms of increased value for the company, higher productivity, faster project completion, potentially even reduced office space costs if scaled.
So make a data-driven business case for remote work based on your own proven performance.
Exactly. Then you don't ask for permanent remote work immediately. You propose a limited revocable trial period.
Start small, like 1 day a week.
Precisely. Could we try my working remotely just on Wednesdays for the next month? We can track my output closely, and if my performance drops at all, we immediately revert to the old system. This makes it low risk for the manager to say yes.
And then during that trial,
you make absolutely sure those remote Wednesdays are your most productive days of the week. Consistently, you over-deliver. You make your performance metrics undeniable. The goal is to make the business benefits so clear that it becomes illogical for them to force you back into the office full-time, outweighing any old-fashioned cultural preference for FaceTime.
Gradually expand the remote days based on continued high performance.
That's the path. We've seen cases where developers, project managers, all sorts of roles have successfully negotiated full remote status, sometimes even leading to promotions because their measurable output demonstrably improved once they escaped office distractions and commute times. Performance is the leverage, not preference.
Okay, so liberation for employees often starts with achieving location independence. What about the broader concept of retirement? This framework replaces traditional retirement with something else, right? Mini retirements.
Yes, mini retirements are a core part of the liberation philosophy. It's about completely redesigning the timing of leisure and exploration in your life. Instead of deferring everything for one huge, monolithic retirement block at the very end.
Which might not come, or you might be too frail to enjoy.
Exactly. Instead, you redistribute retirement into recurring, shorter, but still substantial periods of dedicated leisure, travel, learning, or adventure throughout your entire working life.
How long are these mini retirements typically?
They can range from maybe 1 month up to 6 months or even longer in some cases. The key is they are long enough to truly disconnect, immerse yourself in something new, and recharge, but short enough that you can sprinkle them throughout your career without completely derailing it.
So front-loading the retirement experiences while you're young and energetic enough to fully appreciate them.
That's the idea exactly. Why wait 30 years to take that 6-month trip around Southeast Asia, or spend 3 months mastering surfing in Costa Rica, or dedicate 2 months to finally learning Italian in Florence? Do it now or next year, funded by your muse or your negotiated remote work savings.
Can you give a more detailed example? How does someone actually finance and pull off a mini retirement?
Sure. Let's take that example mentioned earlier, the software engineer who wanted to spend 2 months racing motorcycles in Spain. That sounds expensive, right?
Yeah, flights, bike rental, accommodation, living costs.
He calculated the total cost would be around $4,800. Not insignificant, but maybe less than people imagine. Now, how did he fund it without dipping into core savings? He identified a small muse opportunity, teaching specialized coding boot camps online, just on weekends.
So a side project specifically to fund the dream.
Yes. By dedicating just 2 weekends a month to this high-value teaching gig, he generated enough extra cash flow to fully fund that $4,800 Spanish motorcycle adventure within about 6 months. He achieved a major life dream, funded by a targeted cash flow project, without waiting decades.
And the key is that the mini retirement usually has a purpose. It's not just sitting around.
Generally, yes. It's most effective when focused on doing something specific, learning a skill, achieving a travel goal, completing a project, volunteering. It's active recovery and enrichment, not just passive idling, which can sometimes lead back to that boredom we talked about.
And this ties into another tactic that makes mini retirements more feasible financially. Geo-arbitrage.
Geo-arbitrage, yes. This is a huge enabler for the new rich lifestyle and mini retirements.
Explain geo-arbitrage simply.
It's leveraging the difference in cost of living between places. You earn money in a strong currency or high-income location, like the US, UK, Western Europe, maybe from your muse or remote job, and then you spend that money, you live in a location where the cost of living is significantly lower. Think places like Southeast Asia, Thailand, Vietnam, parts of Latin America, Colombia, Argentina, Mexico, Eastern Europe, Portugal, Czech Republic, etc.
So your dollars or euros or pounds stretch much further.
Dramatically further. Living your dream lifestyle. Maybe eating out often, having a nice apartment, enjoying activities in a place like Chiang Mai, Thailand, or Medellin, Colombia, might cost you less per month than just paying your basic rent and utilities back home in New York or London.
So your target monthly income, TMI, needed to fund your lifestyle drops significantly.
Precisely. A modest automated income stream of, say, $3,000 a month, which might feel tight in a major Western city, could allow you to live an incredibly rich and comfortable life in many beautiful parts of the world. Geo-arbitrage multiplies the power of your income and makes extended travel or mini retirements extremely affordable.
You have to consider things like visas, banking, maybe language barriers though, right?
Of course. It requires planning and research. But those are logistical challenges that can be overcome. The potential reward in terms of lifestyle freedom is immense.
Okay, so liberation involves gaining location freedom, redistributing retirement into mini retirements, possibly using geo-arbitrage. But then there's a psychological aspect. You succeed, you use DEAL, you suddenly have all this free time. What do you do with it? The filling the void problem.
This is a surprisingly common and critical challenge. Subtracting work, especially if it was 40, 60, 80 hours a week, leaves a massive vacuum in your life and schedule. If you don't consciously fill that void with meaningful activities, it can lead to restlessness, anxiety, self-doubt, even depression.
You get the freedom you wanted, and then you don't know what to do with it.
Exactly. The framework calls it mental tail chasing. Your brain, used to constant stimulus and pressure, can kind of turn on itself if left idle for too long. So the newfound free time must be directed purposefully.
Towards what kind of activities?
The recommendations usually fall into two main categories: continuous learning and service contribution.
Learning and service.
Yes. Learning could be mastering new languages, picking up complex kinesthetic skills like dancing, martial arts, surfing, or musical instruments. Things that engage your mind and body in challenging, rewarding ways. Service could mean volunteering for a cause you believe in, mentoring others, contributing to open source projects, dedicating time to family or community. Activities that provide a sense of purpose beyond yourself.
So replace the structure and challenge of work with the structure and challenge of learning and contribution.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Individuals who skip this step, who just aim for pure leisure without structure or purpose, often find themselves surprisingly unhappy. They realize that overcoming challenges and feeling useful were actually important psychological needs. The old job, however flawed, might have been fulfilling. You need to replace those needs constructively.
And there's one final piece of liberation related to our cultural obsession with busyness: the need to learn how to do nothing.
Yes. This sounds paradoxical after talking about filling the void, but it's crucial. After years, maybe decades, spent in the corporate rat race or the entrepreneurial hustle, many people develop what could be called a speed addiction.
Speed addiction.
They feel constantly rushed, anxious if they're not productive, guilty if they're just relaxing. Their internal tempo is stuck on high gear. To truly break free and enjoy the liberation they've created, they need to consciously practice slowing down.
How do you practice doing nothing?
It means deliberately scheduling periods of unstructured quiet time. No phone, no tasks, no specific goals, maybe just sitting, walking in nature, meditating. The framework calls it revisiting ground zero. It's about recalibrating your internal clock, fighting that sensation of always needing to be somewhere else, doing something else. It's about allowing space for reflection, appreciation, and just being.
So slowing down isn't about accomplishing less overall.
Ironically, no. By cutting out the frantic, counterproductive busyness and allowing for periods of genuine rest and reflection, you often end up making better decisions, being more creative, and focusing more effectively when you are working or learning. It's about quality over quantity, even in leisure.
Okay, that completes the DEAL framework. Definition, elimination, automation, liberation. We've really dug into the details. Now, stepping back, what does this all mean for someone listening right now, thinking about trying to implement this? It's a compelling blueprint, but you've stressed it's not easy. It's not a magic wand.
Absolutely not. We have to be incredibly clear about the reality here. This framework provides powerful tools and a different way of thinking, but it's an optimization strategy, not a get-rich-quick scheme or a lottery ticket. The path, especially the automation part involving building a muse, is often paved with significant struggle.
The 1,000 messy days.
Exactly. Failure, setbacks, periods of intense financial uncertainty, maybe even zero income for a while. These are common experiences, especially during the startup phase of creating that automated income. It requires navigating ambiguity and risk.
You mentioned that successful people who follow this path often considered quitting.
Almost universally, yes. If you read interviews or case studies, nearly everyone who built a successful muse reports hitting multiple points, often deep troughs of despair, where they seriously contemplated throwing in the towel. Moments of intense doubt, fear, and frustration are part of the process for most. It's inherently difficult to build something sustainable from scratch.
So, given that struggle seems almost guaranteed, what separates those who make it through the messy days to actual liberation from those who give up? What are the critical success factors?
Based on the patterns, it seems to boil down to a few key things. First, deep, unwavering commitment to the vision defined in the first step. You have to really want that specific, exciting life you outlined. Second, sheer tenacity and resilience. The ability to get knocked down, learn from it, and get back up again repeatedly. And third, a relentless focus on experimentation and learning.
Experimentation and learning, like the micro-testing.
Yes, but broader than that. Adopting a mindset captured by the phrase learning, not earning in the early stages. Your primary goal during the messy days isn't necessarily to make huge profits immediately, but to rapidly learn the skills you need: marketing, sales, system design, delegation. niche selection. You treat early failures as tuition fees for your real-world MBA in lifestyle design.
Focus on skill acquisition over immediate income.
And run lots of small, cheap experiments. Test ideas quickly, get feedback, iterate. Don't overinvest in unproven concepts. It's a very lean startup approach applied to building your automated lifestyle engine. Just get started, learn by doing.
And is there a fundamental mental shift regarding the business itself that successful implementers make?
Yes, a really crucial one. They stop thinking about it as just running a business in the traditional sense, where they are the central hub doing everything. They shift their focus entirely to building an automated asset.
An asset, not a job.
Exactly. They stop working in the business, answering every email, making every sale, packing every box, and start working on the business. Designing the systems, writing the rules like the $100 empowerment rule, creating the SOPs, hiring and training the VAs, setting up the software automations. They become the architect of the system, not the busiest worker within it. That strategic systemic focus is the ultimate key to decoupling their time from the income and achieving real freedom.
That makes sense. Architect, not operator.
And, whether someone listening wants to go the full entrepreneurial route and build a muse, or they aim to apply these principles within their existing job to gain more freedom and sanity, the core ideas remain incredibly powerful.
Elimination, focus, protecting time.
Ruthless elimination of the non-essential, intense focus on the high-impact 20%, fiercely protecting your time and attention from interruptions and low-value demands. These are potent tools for anyone feeling overwhelmed or burned out. And that's increasingly relevant today, isn't it? We see data showing many remote workers are actually working more hours than before, not less.
Yeah, that statistic you mentioned, 65% of remote workers reporting longer hours. That's alarming. The boundaries blur.
They totally blur. So the principles of efficiency, effectiveness, and delegation discussed here aren't just luxuries for aspiring lifestyle designers anymore. They're becoming essential survival skills for navigating the modern work landscape and preventing burnout, regardless of your specific path.
That's a really strong takeaway. These aren't just niche ideas. They're broadly applicable strategies for regaining control.
I firmly believe so.
Okay, let's leave our listeners with a final provocation, something to chew on, based on everything we've discussed today. If you were to apply the 80-20 rule to your life right now, this very moment, what is the single biggest time-wasting task, the most draining, low-value commitment, or the noisiest information source that you could realistically eliminate today to free up a significant chunk of that wasted 80%? And more importantly, what specific, exciting, previously unrealistic goal from your own potential dreamline would you commit to filling that newly recovered time with starting this week? This was it on today's book, guys. And guys, kindly subscribe and follow us for more such insights on various books. And also, do not forget to join our social media community to stay in touch.